Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning Devotional, brought to you by Golden Isles Primitive Baptist Fellowship and HeartFloss.com. I'm Vernon Eckleberry, and I have a lesson for you this morning entitled With a Song in Our Heart. With a Song in Our Heart. And it's taken from Psalm number 13. Of course, I'm referencing the song that was featured in the movie With a Song in My Heart. The story about Jane Froman, whose singing career was almost cut short by a tragic accident. It was during her period of recovery that she lost her will. She felt alone and isolated and lost her desire to ever sing again. But she was able to overcome that with a song in her heart. And that's the case with David in our reading here this morning. Psalm number 13. How long wilt thou forget me, O Lord, forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall mine enemy be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Lighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest mine enemies say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Now, whatever David is going through here, it is obvious that he felt all alone, that he felt isolated, that he felt abandoned. And it's not hard to feel that way when you're going through some trouble in your life. It's easy to believe that no one else understands or that no one else cares. And we even from time to time will wonder whether or not God is there and whether he's willing to help and whether he understands or whether he knows what we're going through. That's where David was at this time. It was Charles Spurgeon that says, whenever you read a Psalm of David, you're going to find yourself somewhere there. And that's certainly the case, because David pours out his heart and shares his personal experience with us. And is certainly true in this psalm this morning. But this is a song. It's a psalm that David wrote to the chief musician. A psalm of David, it says in the heading. And it's a song that's written in 3 stanzas. The first stanza is David's sorrow. The second stanza is David's supplication. And the third stanza is David's salvation. Now, this is a song that David would carry with him for the rest of his life. This would be a song in his heart from that day forward, because it tells of the experience that he had and how he was seen safely through it. So let's look at stanza 1. David's sorrow. How long wilt thou forget me, O Lord, forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? So David felt himself to be all alone, that he was overwhelmed by an enemy, and it looked like that he was going to lose in this battle against whatever it was that was opposing him. You know, the enemy comes in all forms. Sometimes it is disease. Sometimes it is sorrow. Sometimes it is regret or guilt or personal conflict with someone else. David may well have been facing an enemy like Saul and his soldiers during the time that young David was fleeing from him. But whatever, it is easy to believe that you're all alone when you're going through a situation like that. And that's where David was in this first stanza called David's sorrow. But the second stanza we'll call David's supplication. Now he turns to God. Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Lighten mine eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved, or when I am overcome by this thing. How easy it is to forget in a time of turmoil that the Lord is always nearby, that the Lord knows what we're going through, and that He is always a present help in our time of trouble. David forgot that momentarily, but he remembered that God is there and God is on His throne, and so he makes supplication to Him. And that also is similar to an experience that I've had, or you've had, or maybe we will sometime in the future. It is often the case that God is kind of a last resort in our search for solutions during the time of our problem. And then when everything fails, we turn to God. But how much better to turn to Him early on, because He is the ultimate solution to whatever we face in life. And so this second stanza is the time that tells of David remembering, and he prays to the God that had delivered him through many situations before and would deliver him in many to follow. Now let's look at the third stanza, which we call David's salvation. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Salvation in this psalm means deliverance. It means overcoming whatever the situation is. And God enabled David to overcome the problem that he was facing. God blessed him to turn the sorrow into a song. But he trusted in God's mercy. And that's where it all must begin. We must humble ourselves and understand that God knows what He's doing, that God is on His throne, that He has a plan for our life, and we must trust Him to do the very best thing and be resigned to His will. And that was part of this stanza of David's salvation. And because of that, I will sing unto the Lord, David writes, because He hath dealt bountifully with me. Now, David would carry this psalm with him. Later on, he would again face conflicts in his life, and Psalm 77 tells us that when he cried unto God on another occasion, but that time he had a song in his heart. The song that had been written during this previous experience, that he would remember. He would remember the sorrow. He would remember the supplication. And he would remember the salvation, the deliverance that God brought to him. And he writes on this occasion, I call to remembrance my song in the night. How many revelations do we get after we lay our head on our pillow at night? It may have been a day unlike any other. But when we lay down at night and we think things over, it is often then that God speaks to us, as He did to David, when he remembered that song that he had written previously during a similar situation. We're going to have our time of sorrow, our time of isolation, our time of aloneness, are time that we feel abandoned, even perhaps by God. But that's only the first stanza. Secondly, there must be a supplication. We must remember God and take our problems to Him, to take our cares to Him, for He careth for us. Supplication. And that almost certainly is going to be followed by a third stanza, and that is salvation. We will be delivered. God's own time and His own way certainly is going to be the case, but yet deliverance will come. As David said, I will sing unto the Lord because He hath dealt bountifully with me. And I hope that will be your experience as well.
Till we